We're going to go to the next Trump thing, and that's just been this revolving door of cabinet picks. I'm going to go through about three of these, Larry, and then I want you to pick the one that's burning you the most of the new three we're going to introduce. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you're enjoying the shit show, sit back, relax, as I give you another Lamont created video that breaks down these buffoons we're getting. And one of them is just like a straight racist Stephen Miller lookalike at that. Here we go.
Hey everyone, let's dive into the latest news from the incoming Trump administration. President-elect Donald Trump has announced Sebastian Gorka as Deputy Assistant to the President and Senior Director for Counterterrorism. This signals a big focus on national security and counterterrorism efforts. Now, who is Sebastian Gorka? Gorka is a British, Hungarian-American media host and commentator known for his conservative views. He served in the first Trump administration for 7 months and is currently affiliated with Salem Radio Network and Newsmax TV. But here's where it gets controversial. Critics are worried. Gorka's alleged ties to far-right groups and his views on Islam could stir tensions with Muslim communities and impact policy effectiveness. Plus, questions about his academic qualifications have fueled skepticism about his suitability for the role. Next up, Russell Vought, nominated to lead the Office of Management and Budget. Vought is known for pushing conservative reforms and leading Project 2025, which aims to restructure federal agencies. His strict budget cuts and remarks about non-Christian groups have drawn criticism for being exclusionary. Then there's Dr. Janette Nesheiwat, nominated for Surgeon General. She's a family and emergency medicine physician known for her media presence, but critics question her depth of experience in public health policy and crisis management. Her comments during the COVID-19 pandemic, seen by some as downplaying the virus's severity, have raised doubts about her readiness for this critical role. Finally, Scott Turner, nominated to lead the Department of Housing and Urban Development. After a successful NFL career, Turner transitioned to politics, serving in the Texas House of Representatives. He led the White House Opportunity and Revitalization Council, promoting investments in distressed communities. Supporters highlight his dedication, but critics question his housing policy expertise. These nominations reflect Trump's preference for non-traditional appointees with private sector and community leadership backgrounds. Their confirmation could shift national security, budget policies, public health and housing strategies. The Senate confirmation process will be crucial in determining their impact.
Lord, Larry, I live with a doctor. I went to see my doctor, and they are not happy with what they're going to be getting, dealing and aiding around the medical community, from the CDC to Medicare, Medicaid. Real doctors who are practicing are not happy about this. Now, I said, me and you get to pick one person that we're going to riff about, and I'm going to go ahead and tell you mine is this bum right here. Scott. Now, I will say this. Of all the low-life picks, he's not the worst. However, Larry, I read through what his agendas are going to be, and they're going to be very similar to what Ben Carson's was. Now, like I said, Trump has an affinity for wanting to put black dudes in anything with urban in the damn name. Okay? Yeah. Now, Ben Carson dropped the ball several times and did the same thing Linda McMahon did, resigned early. This guy is talking about utilizing opportunity zones to enhance low economic areas. Does anybody besides me know what an opportunity zone is? I'm going to just assume not, so I'm going to tell you, because I'm in real estate and I do business. An opportunity zone, ladies and gentlemen, is the area where the economic activity is low, might as well say it's in poverty, or it's a bunch of trees and land. And what you do is you take the wealthiest people in America who want to take their money from assets that they would have to pay capital gains on, and they invest their money into these opportunity zones. And when they invest their money into these opportunity zones, if they leave their money in there for 6 to 8 years, they won't have to pay no capital gains on the money that they put into those zones, and then they get the benefit of the investment return on their money for leaving it in these opportunity zones for 8 to 6 years. At the end of the day, how does that benefit the people in the local community that you're trying to revamp? Are you going to be giving money to those people in the community so they can build homes and create equity? No. You're trying to do this bull jive trickle down um, capitalistic bull jive, which let us not forget the root word of capitalism. It's capital lies. And instead of giving these people opportunities to take advantage of their land, all you're doing is another form of gentrification.
Yeah,
Simple
and
as
they
that.
play nasty too when they do these so-called opportunity zones because they'll do stuff like they're not going to work with the local businesses that are already there.
No,
They'll come in,
no,
they'll
no.
buy up all the property, or if someone's renting, they'll go in and they'll buy the land or the buildings from the people that are there, and then they'll raise the rent so high that people can't afford to stay, or they'll evict them
Ex-
if anything happens. They'll say, "Oh, you didn't put your trash dumpster out on Wednesday. Instead, you put it out on Tuesday. That's a violation. We're starting the eviction process." Do all kinds of crazy stuff, you know, and then when they get in there, they often create these businesses that the local people can't afford, and so
That's the
they
point. That's the
and then
point.
and then
That's the point.
other people start moving in because then they start saying, "Oh, look at this area over here. They have a new Whole Foods, or they have a new this or a new that." And then the prices go up. But oftentimes in those places, people don't own anything. They rent, and then the rent goes up. People have to move out, and that's how gentrification rolls around. And it's just these opportunity zones are not opportunities for the people there. They're not
No,
opportunities
they're
for the
not.
people there.
They're never that. And if I was the president, I would set up an economic fund for these areas, go meet with the local people, see who has business ideas, appoint someone who is a business leader to oversee people that want to run businesses in those local communities, fortify the people that are already there, and let them make their own opportunity zone instead of you coming in here and gradually running out the poor folks that's already there, pretending like you've done something good when the people you claim you're going to help, all you do is run them away because they just because you put a Whole Foods there, and I call it whole paycheck, don't
Right.
mean they can afford it. Just because you put new housing there doesn't mean that they can afford it. And so now these poor people got to go somewhere else when you could have took that money and invested it in them, teach
Right.
them how to run some land, give them a economic czar to help them uplift their community. But you want to just keep this thing trickling down. So that's my rant. But Larry, of all these buffoons, which one worries you the most? Is it the Stephen Miller knockoff? Is it Doctor, I'm too pretty to really be in medicine? Or is it Sebastian, I'm from another country wanting to take over your country, Gorka?
Oh man, this one's tough because I wanna go towards Sebastian Gorka because I
Okay,
don't like him. I've heard him, but anything that has to do with healthcare is
okay,
just
okay.
so vital.
Yeah.
And people just don't understand how quickly things can spiral out of control. And
Look
the
at what
thing is
Larry,
that
Larry, they got an example. Look what happened to COVID.
yeah, but they want to look at that as an anomaly because everybody out there wants to say, the media and other people want to say, oh, this is a once in a lifetime, a once in a lifetime pandemic, or we haven't seen anything like this since since whatever the in 1919 or something. They want to go, but here's the thing is
Okay.
that when you have policies in place, when you have public health policies in place that actually fight the spread of disease, you can stop pandemics from ripping through your country and your communities. And these people don't believe in those policies.
Nope.
They don't believe in them. They don't believe in the vaccinations. They don't believe that in some of the actions that you need to stop the spread. I mean, simple things like wearing masks, washing your hands, keeping some distance between you and someone else when someone might be sick, saying if you're sick and you're coughing, stay your butt home. No, they want people to go back into offices. This whole idea of you should have to go to do your job in an office. It's like they're overseers and they want to oversee people. It's like
And they
it,
don't want
it,
you
it,
vaccinated.
Yeah, it feels like they're trying to justify their existence. It's like they're saying, I have no real value as a manager. And so my only value as a manager is having you in here and watching over you. And so that's what they want to justify their existence. But the thing is, when this whole thing about not having vaccines and all this, it's just so scary because we have had pandemic level diseases come to this country, and people don't necessarily recognize it because public health policy is one of those things that you almost never see,
Or hear about.
or
Hear
hear
about.
about, but you
Right.
experience it every single
Mhm.
day.
Larry,
Every single
we
day.
just had a measles outbreak in Florida because they got these dumbass vaccine laws
Yeah.
going on down there. They had a school where these kids wasn't getting vaccinated for measles, had an outbreak, and told the parents it was okay to come bring the child to school.
No, it
And
should not be okay to send your kid to school with a transmittable disease. It's not okay. I mean, these MMR vaccines have been in place for a reason because people used to get measles, they would get mumps, they get rebellion, people would die from these things. It wasn't like somebody said, "Hey, let's make this a normal practice just because." Now, don't mind. No, don't mind. There are still once you see there's a need, there's gonna be some company that steps in and feels that need. So yes, the pharmaceutical companies are gonna step in, and they're gonna be the ones that make the vaccine, and other people are gonna have some. They're gonna be the ones that administer it, and people are gonna profit off of it. Happens for everything. But that does not negate the fact that there was a real and still is a very real need to keep these things at bay. You know,
mhm.
and I mean, when you start looking at some of the old school diseases that have started to creep back up because people don't want to get vaccinated, it's scary. You look at people in the United States and some in other countries where people aren't getting vaccinated, and their people are having outbreaks of smallpox.
Right. Yep.
And it's like
Yep.
we damn near eradicated that.
Had it
And then
gone.
people want to start being anti-vaxxers, and that stuff starts to come back.
Yeah,
You know, it's
ridiculous.
just it's
Patting down
dangerous.
the
What
hatch.
what it is they're creating policies that are actually dangerous for Americans. And I think that if you have some sort of pandemic or disease that spreads like wildfire, and something that's scary, that's not gonna. I mean, it's not gonna. There are some diseases out there that have almost 100% death rate. If you look at something like Ebola, you don't get
Oh,
Ebola
oh,
and then just say, okay, well, I hope I make it. No, you get Ebola and like 18 hours later, you're dead. You bled
done.
out of your orifices. And
Yeah, man.
and doctors don't even want to treat you. Doctors are scared of that stuff because they get it and they can die.
Right.
You know? So
Right.
I mean, it's just, and I say, and I know I say Ebola, and people hear that and they think like, oh, that's some far fetched stuff. That's just some African thing that happens in the bush or people eating bush meat or whatever else. But it came to the U.S. just a few years ago, and the Obama administration had protocols in place, and they stopped it in its tracks. So if you have a Trump administration and you have a Kennedy or this other lady, and they don't believe in vaccines, they don't believe in the pandemic protocols. Well, what do you do when you go to school? When your kid goes to school and they get Ebola,
Mhm.
and they come home and they give it to their grandmother or you, and you're thinking, oh, let's see if we can push through this and make it. And next thing you know, you're all dead, and you can't
Done.
even go to the doctor. They're like, sorry, we're not taking you. We're not set up for that.
Right.
Good luck. What can we do? Say your prayers. That's what you can do. You know.
Post your
Uh,
comments, y'all. It's rough out here, man. And while you're dealing with the minutia of the Trump administration, always keep in the back of your mind, a lot of what he does is smoke and mirrors, so that you're not understanding the other junk that he's doing that's causing more harm. It's like somebody will go and put some smoke on the other side of your car while they setting the tires on fire on the other side. Just know
mhm.
that you got people like me and Larry who we're gonna grit our teeth and we're gonna keep you abreast as we try to fight back in our
Let me
own
let,
little way. Yeah.
let me just give people a little bit of this. I mean, I know
Okay.
people don't think about healthcare policy, but just think about simple things like mosquito eradication. People
Hmm.
spray for mosquitoes because mosquitoes spread malaria. And people think like that's something that people die from in the jungle somewhere. Malaria spreads like crazy and people die from it all the time. And if you don't get the treatment for it and you have malaria, you can and most likely will die. Public policy in this country has made it as such that most of us don't ever need to worry about that.
Right.
You know, we don't walk out into our normal cities, our streets and stuff, and we're inundated with mosquitoes. There are certain times of years in certain parts of the country where there's more mosquitoes, and people have been afraid of it because you had stuff like Zika, like Zika virus and all the other stuff that can spread through that. But for the most part, we don't worry about that stuff because we have had good public health policies in this country that has helped keep us safe. And because I think that's part of the problem is that because our public health policies have been so good and have been so effective and have also at the same time been so invisible that you get other people that come in and they don't appreciate what it is and what people do and how well they have worked, and so they think we don't need them. And once you take those away, then you have major problems, and it's always a lot harder and a lot longer and a lot more painful to get rid of a problem than it is just to keep it from ever becoming one.
You got that right. Prevention is always a great key, ladies. It's always a great key. Let us know what you think.